Right.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Hardy. I'm a cozy mystery writer, and this is Erin Johnson, who is an experienced cozy mystery writer, and we're here to interview her for the Cozy Mystery Book Club so we can get to know her better. And of course, I'm going to pick her brain for good ideas.
Yeah.
I'm going to be really
Well,
subtle, though, so you won't know what's coming.
perfect.
Okay, so we kind of talked. Is there anything more you would like to say about yourself, Erin, before we
No, we could just jump in, but
just
yeah,
jump
thank you for
in?
being here. And yeah, I'm
It's cool.
excited to be here. Yeah.
So I guess the big question a lot of your readers might want to know is, how did you get into writing to begin with?
That is a good question. I've written ever since I was really little. Um, my dad used to bring home these reams of I can't remember what they're called. They're like that printer paper that had the little dots down the
The
side.
original computer paper.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
computer paper. So I would just, draw
All right.
illustrated books on those. And the first book I remember writing was kind of hilariously, like it was my dog, and I didn't have a dog at the time, but I love animals, and it was all about all the things I do with my dog. But I think it was an early sign of dyslexia because I switched it. So it was all about me taking my God for a ride on the bus and for a walk. So,
And did you conjure a real dog into your life with all that
you
writing?
know, eventually we did get a family dog, so that was
Okay,
good. And
good.
yeah, I've got a little guy now who might make an appearance if the mailman comes. But yeah, so I started as a kid and just always loved it, and did some creative writing classes in college, and it was always something I wanted to do, but seemed kind of like a real pipe dream.
Yeah.
And so I tried a lot of different things. I've had a lot of like funny jobs that I think now are good things to draw, funny experiences and inspiration from. And eventually I just kind of decided, you know what, I'm going to give this a go. I learned more about indie publishing, and that seemed a lot more attainable. And so I think I picked the right route for me, and it's been great. So yeah.
So you've always been an independent publisher. You're not like a hybrid person. Okay, good.
No, maybe someday, I'm definitely open to it, but I know I'm not super impatient, but a little bit. And I think that was one of the big things, was just I want that gratification of, a book gets out more often than I think the traditional publishing timeline usually lets you do. So yeah.
So that makes you a small business owner, or maybe a big business owner, as well as a writer.
Yeah, I think all of us indie publishers are really.
I hope I caught, you said you started drawing on that paper, because I saw drawings in the book that we read. That was the free book that you made available for us.
Those were not me, no, but
okay.
Yeah, I still occasionally, like, if I'm getting a cover design, I'll scribble out a really bad, this is what I'm going for, but they always make it pretty. So
had an image in your head, kind of.
Yeah.
I love that. Sometimes they come back with a cover and I get re-inspired for my own book.
Totally.
Do you feel that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know people who I've tried to do this a little bit, but they'll buy covers and then write from
the cover.
Made covers. Yeah, which I think is really cool too.
Wherever the inspiration comes, right?
Absolutely. I'll take it.
So speaking of inspiration, how did you land in cozy mysteries, or have you written in other genres?
I haven't really. I wrote a book before Seashell Shells and Caramels, which was my first published book. And this book I wrote before will probably never be published because it's not great. But I thought I was going to be writing like YA fantasy because I read a lot of that. And I've always loved anything fantasy. If there's some kind of magical twist to it, I'm in. And so I kind of came to writing after I'd written that book, and I had somebody edit it. They really couldn't tell like what genre it was supposed to be. I was like, okay, so maybe I need to study this a little bit more, and was looking in various fantasy realms, like genres, and came across the paranormal cozies. And I honestly didn't even know the term cozy mystery before then. But as I looked into it, I realized, I love these. Like I've read all the Nancy Drews, and I watch a bunch of TV shows that would definitely be cozy mysteries. And so yeah, once I realized what it was, and then I started reading books in the genre, I thought, oh, this is perfect because this is kind of books of things I really enjoy, kind of the like puzzle solving mystery side, but also there's some magic in there. So
There is
yeah,
magic. And I feel
yeah.
that in your book, when I read it, I thought,
Oh,
oh,
thanks.
I love that you didn't bother to explain why it's magic. It's just magic.
Yeah, yeah. So a couple of the Spells and Caramels, and then the Pet Psychic series, which Saved by the Spell is the prequel to that. They're both in this. The Spells and Caramel series starts with a girl who's normal in Seattle, but very quickly we're in this little magical island. And so most of both those series, it's just everybody's magical, everything. So it's pretty heavy on the fantasy, which, I think
Right.
makes sense considering I really love fantasy stuff. So
Yeah. Do you ever stand in your kitchen and want to wave your wand and have dinner made?
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Mostly the cleanup. Yeah.
The cleanup. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be beamed up, like in Star Trek.
Yeah.
To avoid the airplane whole
Oh, I
thing.
know. Yes, I
Yeah.
agree.
So you can do that in your books. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Was there a moment when you thought, I can do whatever I want in these books?
Yeah. Let me think. I've had that thought before. I've kind of had to like pull it back a little bit.
Right, reel it in.
Because it's like I could do anything, but I'm gonna lose people. Like, wait, why are we over here now? So
yeah. How do we get here?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is
totally.
that. Right.
But
Could you describe your ideal reader?
oh gosh. My sister has gotten really busy lately, so she's not my first reader now so much.
The nerve.
I know. Come on. But for a long time she was. And she's definitely not the typical like cozy reader, but she enjoys fantasy. And so I think typically my goal is just if she's entertained by it, that's I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. So and
Okay.
yeah, so I don't know, she's a few years younger than me and like mid-30s, but into all kinds of genres and whatnot. I think my typical reader is probably a little more like middle-aged. They, want to have these adventures and have these fun experiences. But, especially with the last couple of years with the pandemic, maybe we haven't all been able to get out and do them. And then with the fantasy element, it's just kind of a fun adventure that you get to escape reality a little bit.
That's right.
And I think
feel safe. Right.
Feel safe, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think the nice thing about cozies is there's always kind of like order restored at the end of the day, and you get to see justice done. And
I can rely on that with cozies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nice feeling. It's that cozy feeling, which I think, I don't know, I think most people kind of want, at least sometimes, you need that little comfort watch or read. And and then I also like kind of having like a little ensemble of characters, that feel friendly and like these are people and you just like hanging out with them. So I think people who enjoy those things.
So you would you say that you like to write what you like to read?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I read a little bit wider than cozy. Like I'm kind of up for all kinds of stuff, but yeah, I definitely want my books to be something that I would enjoy discovering and be like, oh, cool. I can get lost in this for a while. So yeah.
So I'm under the impression that you have several series.
I do. Yeah.
Could you tell us about that?
Sure. So the first one I wrote was the Spells and Caramel series, and Imogen is the lead, and so she's a baker. She starts off as like a normal person, doesn't know about magic, enters this magical baking contest on this island off of France called Bijou Mer. And so she ends up caught up in this like royal baking world. And so she kind of hangs out with a bunch of other bakers. The whole island's magical. And then like royalty. And they go on and have their little adventures. And then the Pet Psychic series, which Saved by the Bell is the prequel to this month's book. And that also takes place on Bijou Mer, but Imogen's story, it's a mountainous island, so there's a palace at the top. So she's literally kind of like at the top of the island, and also with kind of like upper tier aristocratic people. And then the Pet Psychic series takes place lower on the island. It's in this night market district. It's a lot. I mean, it's still a cozy, but for cozy, it's a little grittier. Like it's just kind of more of there's a bunch of street stalls and people are, it's just a little more
competitive and
yeah. And
yeah.
so it's on the same island, and there's definitely some crossover characters. But so those are those two, and then
Okay.
my other main series those are both complete, and then the one I'm writing in right now is Magical Tea Room Mysteries, and that takes place in Bath. And so I wanted to do something that had a little bit more like it's Bath, it's a real city, but there's this whole like kind of underground magical element to it. So yeah, those are my main ones. Then I have a couple little series that I have co-written with people, and so yeah, one's a Renaissance Fair one, and then the other's a sort of like a Christmas holiday series.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, like 5 questions just popped in my head, and I just want to tell people who are listening, none of these were on the list that we prepared. I'm just like going crazy. So if it gets too much, just tell me to cut it off, and I'll go back to the list. My first question is, did you go to Bath? Were you able to visit there?
I have been a couple times, which is what led me to write about it. But I mean, I've only spent about a day, one visit, maybe 10 years later, another day there, but I loved it. I was like, I could live here. So
did you get a feeling like inside of you, kind of like this is my place?
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
And, there's the Roman baths there, which they thought the waters had like healing properties, and so that kind of lends itself obviously to lots of magical, mysterious ideas.
Definitely. Right.
And then I love Jane Austen, and so my sister and I have traveled together. We went, we were in London around places, and we knew they were having a Jane Austen festival in Bath, and so we ended up being able to catch a bit of it. And
perfect combination.
We went to a Jane Austen ball where everybody was like full dress, and it was the best time I've ever had. So that Bath series kind of incorporates some Jane Austen and some, just all the fun things
and some inspiration there.
Kick out of there, yeah.
And then my other question that popped up is, what is it like to write with 2 other people?
It's been interesting because I know people who will, like, I know an author who they co-wrote where they were alternating chapters, and so there's lots of different ways to do it. The way I've done it both times is we all just kind of have this shared world, and so like for the Christmas one, it's this town holiday haven near the North Pole, and then for the Ren Fair one, it's a Renaissance Fair that's cursed, and so we all just create our own characters, and so we kind of have our own little niche within those worlds, but there's common like shops they'll go to, and our main characters might interact a little bit, but mostly they're kind of doing their own thing. So it wasn't too difficult in terms of coordinating to make sure nobody was doing anything that would make the other person's story impossible. That was pretty easy. But what's really fun about it was just creating the worlds together, because there was just stuff that I wouldn't have thought of that it's like, oh, I love that. Yeah. Like, okay.
So your imagination's got to kind of come together in this amalgamated world. Wow. I love that.
And it kind of felt more real too, or both times it's felt more real because there's places I would invent, like, oh, my person needs to be able to go to this cafe or whatever, but because they had all filled in other aspects, it's like, oh yeah, and then there's this bookstore and there's this other place, that it's kind of like in real life where you're like sort of aware of it, but you haven't been there yourself, and so it just ends up feeling a little more real, I think, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's like another writer using their characters and sharing space. It makes it so much more real. Right? It's another dimension. That's very exciting.
So it's been fun. It's been kind of a little like, just another little inspiration boost every time I've done it. So,
right, to keep us writing. Well, we've talked somewhat about place, but what about characters? How do you come up with your characters? Do you have any favorites? Anybody annoying you right now? I've always heard Agatha Christie got very annoyed with Hercule Poirot. She finally had to bump him off. Anybody like that, or do you love all your people? Or
I'm trying to think. Usually, if I want to write somebody really annoying, they do get bumped off in the,
it's inevitable,
in the first,
right?
Yeah, they're gone.
The gorier, the better.
Yeah, just get them out of here. No.
Right.
I'm trying
Yeah,
to think about my
I'm with you.
I honestly right now I'm enjoying all my characters. I will, I have some really guilty watch reality TV shows, and I
Okay.
find them really inspiring. Sometimes it's kind of
Inspiring,
like
yeah.
their annoying characteristics that get pulled into books.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Me too.
So, or just little aspects of, there's definitely some of me in all the characters. I wouldn't say any of them are fully me or fully anyone I know, but I'll put little quirks and things into people.
Does the character come first or the setting for you?
Oh, that's a good question. I think a lot of times the setting does actually. I'm trying to. I think I'll get inspired, and then I think about things that I would love to have happen to me, or do, or encounter on travels, and then that sort of leads to, okay, well, what kind of person would be doing that, and
so then the person shows up, right?
Yeah. So yeah.
Do you have a writing schedule that you stick to, or are you impromptu, or do you outline? And
yeah, it's shifted a little bit. The last 2 years, I think there was nothing else to do. I couldn't leave my house.
Right.
I was just like head down writing. So I was getting a lot of books out, and then I just got a little slightly burned out at the end of last year. So I was like, I'm gonna just stretch this out a little bit. So I've been trying to give myself a little bit more flexibility. But I typically will outline. My outlines end up being fairly detailed. Like I kind of start writing as I'm outlining. And I find with the mystery aspect for me, I pretty much have to have that
already ready for you. Right.
Though it does change sometimes. Like a few of my last books, I realized I feel like the murder is too obvious. And so I'll make them the red herring and create a new murderer. And that ends up working out really well. So
if you catch it at the right time, right?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. So you don't have to rewrite the whole
right.
book. But yeah, so that's so I typically outline, and it might take me, it's kind of mulling for a while, but when I actually sit down to outline, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'll spend a month to 2 writing, and then I usually edit pretty quickly, because I think I tend to kind of edit a little bit as I'm going along, and yeah, so I have kind of like a loose timeline, but I do have edits scheduled with my editor, which is like I need the deadline. So if I know that's coming, I will make the deadline. So I have to do it like that, otherwise.
Because we don't want to annoy our editor ever.
No. Yeah, please.
No. Oh,
which I'm sure I have.
Yeah.
I've had to reschedule things, but
my editor knows me so well. Yeah. In scary ways, right?
Yeah.
Because of all those characters and the details, and right.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you write every day?
No, not every day. I'll give myself some breaks between books, and like if I'm out, I don't know. I guess in my head, I think writing like I'm writing chapters, but if I'm in the outlining stage or the editing stage, I don't do that every day necessarily. So yeah,
it depends then.
It depends where I'm at in the book, and it kind of depends if I need a little break, or if things are really flowing, I'll do more work. And if I'm having to I got a chapter done, that's good enough today, that works for me too. So
right.
I have to roll with my mood a little bit too.
Yeah. Well, that's a compassionate way to deal with things instead of beating yourself up, right?
Well, yeah, and I've had to work on that.
I was kind of hearing that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we're trying this year. Just a little
being kind to Erin.
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
Totally.
Good. Well, I know one of my favorite characters was Daisy.
Yeah.
So could you tell me more about Daisy and how she came to your mind? And
yeah, absolutely. So Daisy is a German Shepherd, and she's in the Pet Psychic series. The main character is Jolene, but her kind of partner in crime solving is this police officer, Peter, and Peter's partner is this German Shepherd. And because Jolene can talk to animals, she and Daisy have a lot of conversations. And in the prequel, Jolene's not a part of it. So you just see Daisy and Peter interacting like a normal human-dog relationship, which, you know, dogs can still communicate a lot. So, but Daisy in this magical world was part of sort of like an experimental program where they were training dogs to sniff out lies. Only her handler has sort of over it because she's always calling him out on every minor, you know, white lie he tells. And anyway, Daisy and Peter end up bonding and they become partners. But Daisy, like, she's very down to business. She's very loyal to Peter and loves him, but not really interested in a relationship with anybody else. And she was a little bit inspired by my dog Maggie, who she was a lab, so she had a goofy side, but she had also worked as a drug sniffing dog.
Oh wow!
Before they retired her, and then I adopted her.
Okay.
And so when we met, she very much picked me. Like, I was fostering her and trying to adopt her out, and she was like, "Nope, I'm your dog.
I'm yours." Right.
Yeah. So in sort of the same way that Daisy picks Peter, you know, Maggie picked me, and she was also very, I think because of her training, it was just like me and her were partners, and she loved other people, was very friendly, but in terms of like a real close relationship, she was not interested. Like, she was my dog. And so I kind of gave a lot of that, the little more serious side of her to Daisy. And yeah, so.
Maggie sounds like your muse. She was
a little bit, yes.
Yeah.
My other little guy, Henry, has inspired some characters too. So.
Yeah, my dogs are very inspiring. Of course, I make up everything they say, and I love doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, maybe not. Maybe they really are talking in there. I loved your book. I thought that, I think that that's very authentic, your voice for the pets. It feels like a person who's inside of a dog. Yeah.
Yeah, me and my fiance will often, we just talk for Henry, our dog.
You do too?
Conversations as him, yeah. And so it's
we do too.
Yeah, when we're around other people, I'm sure we sound insane, but you know.
Oh, our dogs have backstories. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, we'll stop that here.
Yeah.
In case our getting into the writer mind might have freaked somebody out. Not really. I sense that when I was reading, and I love it when that's really true. So what are you working on now, Erin, before we close all this up?
Yeah, so I'm just about to launch, what day is it? May 3rd is the next book in the Magical Tea Room series that's coming out. And then the next book after that for me is one of the shared world ones. So it's the next book in the Renaissance Fair mysteries. So I'm outlining that at the moment, about to jump into writing, and that one has a talking cat. There's always a talking animal, so I'm looking forward to getting back to writing that guy. And
good.
Yeah, so,
that's what's next.
Totally.
And I noticed your newsletter, you have a giveaway of your first series, right? Did I get that this morning?
Oh yeah, so the box set of 10 books of the Spells and Caramels, I just released it yesterday, and it's not totally free, but it's 99 cents. And
it's like, wow, what a great deal. That could be like a binge read, right? That's just a great offer for your readership.
Series, which I know sometimes, me too. Sometimes I don't want to jump into something if I'm like, is this going to end? When is the next bit out? So you can really just binge.
You got them right there.
Thing. Yeah.
Well done. Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure to talk to you.
You too, Bonnie. Thank you so much.
Too. You've inspired me too, and touched my heart with the animals.
Oh, good. So thank you. Too. I was like, I'm glad that somebody else talks further.
Absolutely. Now we did a little confession time here. And so what I'll go ahead and do and end our recording. Let's wait a minute and then we can say goodbye.
All right.
Is there anything else you want to add or say or tell your readership or?
No, I think that was great. So yeah.
Good. Okay, hold on.